There is a particular agonizing silence that follows when you realize your utmost effort is being met with his absolute indifference. We have all been there, sitting alone, staring at a blank screen on a Friday evening, deeply frustrated, and wondering why the more you try to be noticed, the more utterly invisible you become to him. It is a brutal reality to face, but I am going to be ruthlessly honest with you. Trying to catch his eye is precisely why he is looking away. The deeply counterintuitive truth of dark feminine psychology is that utterly ignoring him is the only way you will ever truly be heard. Today, we are dismantling that cycle of abandonment. We are not discussing superficial beauty routines or desperate bids for attention. We are unlocking the psychological armor of quiet luxury. In this session, I am going to reveal the 5 incredibly subtle aesthetic details that do not merely attract the male gaze, they utterly intimidate the weak men and violently hijack the minds of the ones actually worth your time. If you are utterly exhausted by his silence and the endless games, this is your cure. Pay very close attention because by the end of this video, your mere presence will become a lethal weapon. Let us address the most common misconception society feeds you, that your grooming routine is merely an elaborate mating call. It is emphatically not. When you invest in flawless grooming, you are not dressing to catch a man's fleeting eye. You are putting on psychological armor. The subtle gleam of a perfectly executed manicure or the effortless fall of a pristine blowout does not scream for attention like a desperate advert. Instead, it quietly but firmly filters the room. You see, high-value aesthetics communicate an unyielding boundary before you ever have to utter a single syllable. Imagine walking into a cafe on a brisk Tuesday morning. You're wearing a beautifully tailored camel coat, your hair is immaculate, and there is a deliberate, polished grace to your appearance. The average man, the one who relies on minimal effort and cheap charm, will look at you and feel a sudden, highly uncomfortable wave of inadequacy. He realizes instantly that a woman who meticulously curates her own standard of living will never lower that standard to accommodate his mediocrity. He filters himself out, saving you the absolute tedium of entertaining a clown. This is the true power of quiet luxury. It is not about flashing designer logos like a walking billboard. That behavior only attracts opportunists and men looking for a shiny new accessory. True elegance is deeply understated. It is the exquisite cut of a silk blouse, the pristine condition of your leather loafers, the subtle gleam of a delicate gold chain resting on your collarbone. It whispers a terrifying truth to the male psyche. I am expensive to maintain, not merely financially, but emotionally and psychologically. It demands a caliber of effort most men are simply too lazy to provide. Think of it as a fortress built of silk and keratin. By taking exceptional care of your physical vessel, you signal a profound, almost dangerous level of self-respect. When a man sees a woman whose aesthetic details are utterly flawless, he doesn't just see a pretty face, he sees discipline. He sees a woman who simply does not skip steps. If you were this uncompromising about the state of your cuticles or the perfect hem of your trousers, what on earth makes him think you will tolerate half-hearted texts or last-minute dates on a Friday night? It is wonderfully intimidating. And whilst he's busy being unnerved by the impeccable standard you have set visually, he is entirely unprepared for the covert psychological warfare that occurs when he actually gets close to you. Because this visual intimidation is only the outermost layer of your fortress. Once he foolishly thinks he has breached your personal space, there is a far more primal, entirely invisible trigger waiting to dismantle his composure completely. You have already established your visual dominance, but visual memory is remarkably fleeting. To truly colonize a man's mind, you must bypass his logical faculties entirely and target something far more primitive: his sense of smell. A signature scent is not merely the final touch of your morning routine, it is an invisible, highly manipulative anchor. Whilst he is busy trying to decode the impeccable cut of your blazer, a carefully chosen fragrance slips straight past his rational defenses and hardwires your presence directly into his reptilian brain. The psychology behind this is beautifully ruthless. The olfactory bulb is directly connected to the amygdala and the hippocampus, the very centers of emotion and memory. Unlike a witty remark or a stunning dress which he might eventually forget, a scent leaves an indelible visceral imprint. When you consistently wear a sophisticated, distinctive fragrance, you are essentially hacking his neurochemistry. You are training his nervous system to associate desire, intrigue, and an undeniable sense of luxury exclusively with you. Let us translate this into a practical reality. Imagine you are concluding a dinner date. As you lean in just slightly to offer a polite parting embrace, a subtle waft of dark vanilla, oud, or sandalwood brushes his senses. You then gracefully depart. Long after your taxi has disappeared, that faint, intoxicating ghost of your perfume remains lingering on the lapel of his jacket or in the passenger seat of his car. He will genuinely believe he simply can't stop thinking about you, but in truth, his brain is just having intense withdrawals from your chemical anchor. However, a quiet luxury aesthetic demands a quiet luxury scent. Please leave the sickly sweet, headache-inducing concoctions to teenagers who are desperate to be noticed at a crowded bar. Your fragrance should never announce your arrival before you enter a room. Rather, it should be an intimate secret discovered only by those fortunate enough to be invited into your personal space. It must compel him to lean in closer, slightly maddened by the urge to decipher the complex, expensive notes that make you so magnetic. Yet, even the most exquisitely crafted, bespoke perfume is completely ruined if it is carried by a woman who darts about the room like a startled pigeon. To allow that scent to properly weave its spell and settle heavily in the air around him, the physical space you occupy must be governed by absolute stillness. A truly sovereign woman knows that her fragrance is merely the prologue. The real psychological grip relies entirely upon the unnervingly calm, deliberate way she chooses to move her body. You have set the neurochemical anchor with your scent, but the most intoxicating fragrance is easily undermined if you navigate the world like a frantic squirrel. Welcome to the concept of sovereign posture. The body language of quiet luxury is never chaotic. It is governed by slow, calculated, and entirely unhurried movements. Think of an apex predator in the wild, or royalty entering a grand room. They never rush because they inherently understand a profound truth: the world will simply wait for them. Rushing, fundamentally, is a subordinate sport. When you move quickly, darting your eyes around, talking too fast, or rushing to fill a comfortable silence, you are subconsciously signaling that someone else's time is more valuable than your own. By flatly refusing to hurry, you silently dictate the tempo of every interaction. You communicate to every man in the vicinity that your time, your peace, and your energy are the rarest, most expensive commodities in the room, forcing him to recalibrate his pace to match yours. Let us apply this pragmatically. When he arrives to collect you for dinner, Do not scurry out of the door clutching your handbag as if you are terrified he might leave without you. Let him wait an extra minute whilst you calmly adjust your coat. When you sit across from him at the table, do not fidget with the cutlery or anxiously nod at every word he speaks. Move deliberately. Reach for your glass of Malbec with a slow, languid grace. It is effortlessly elegant and deliciously maddening. This unhurried elegance utterly short-circuits the traditional male ego. Most men are quite accustomed to women who overcompensate, women who lean in too far and laugh slightly too loudly just to keep the date alive. When you sit back into your chair, perfectly still and completely comfortable in the silence, you brutally reverse the power dynamic. Nature abhors a vacuum, and faced with your sovereign stillness, he will inevitably start performing, working twice as hard to fill the space and earn your validation. Yet mastering the physical tempo of a queen is merely the architecture of your psychological armor. You can move as slowly and gracefully as you please, but if your eyes betray a desperate underlying need for his approval, the entire illusion crumbles to dust. To truly elevate this physical sovereignty into a lethal weapon of attraction, your poised body language must be fused with an internal state that men find genuinely shocking. We have established your sovereign posture, but the final, most devastating layer of your armor is entirely internal, the aura of absolute detachment. Let us be brutally honest. The modern world is practically overflowing with conventionally attractive women who are absolutely desperate to be looked at. But physical beauty, when multiplied by genuine, ice-cold indifference, becomes a lethal psychological weapon. It is the profound realization that you are the most captivating creature in the room, yet you could not care less who is actually watching you. This creates a magnificent psychological short-circuit in the male brain. A man, especially a highly successful or arrogant one, is entirely accustomed to women seeking his gaze, altering their posture, or laughing a pitch higher when he walks by. When he encounters a breathtaking woman who is completely unbothered by his presence, his ego takes a rather brutal blow. It is utterly jarring for him to realize that his validation, which he usually distributes like royal favors, is completely worthless to you. Let us translate this into your reality. If you are sitting alone at a dimly lit, high-end cocktail bar, do not scan the room like a hawk to see which men are admiring your silhouette. Instead, become entirely engrossed in the amber depths of your Negroni or the quiet rhythm of the jazz pianist. When a man inevitably approaches you, do not light up like a Christmas tree simply because he has spoken. Offer a polite, cool smile that silently communicates, "You are interrupting my peace, but I shall allow it for precisely 2 minutes." This is not the childish, exhausting game of playing hard to get. It is the dark, feminine reality of actually being hard to reach. When your detachment is authentic, you effortlessly strip him of his perceived power. He suddenly finds himself in the terrifying position of having to earn your attention from scratch, rather than having it handed to him purely by virtue of his existence. It is a brilliant, dryly amusing power shift that instantly turns the supposed hunter into a rather desperate supplicant. You have now built your fortress with immaculate grooming, anchored his mind with your scent, dictated the pace with your posture, and shattered his ego with your detachment. Yet, simply possessing these weapons is not enough if you do not understand the final mechanism of sealing your psychological armor. Because once you step out into the world wielding this quiet luxury, you must know exactly what to do next. You now hold the blueprint. quiet luxury is no longer merely a visual aesthetic, it is your psychological armor and your most devastating weapon. But true mastery requires a bit of reflection, so I have a rather specific question for you. Tell me down in the comments, what is that one intensely personal aesthetic detail, that seemingly small luxury, that instantly makes you feel utterly invincible when you step into a room? I shall be reading your answers closely. If you are quite finished playing the exhausting, desperate games of the modern dating market and wish to genuinely master the psychology of high-value relationships, I invite you to subscribe to Destiny's Decree. Do ensure you turn on the notifications, lest you miss your next masterclass in the art of sovereign attraction. Until next time, remain entirely uncompromising.